Yo, Xno here, and I want to make this video to help out new players who are getting into Tekken. This is for those who are already learning Tekken, already learning their character, and already know how to play, how to block at least, and you already have your favorite moves that you do, you already have some basic flowcharts that you're doing in combat, and this video will help you break some beginner mistakes and beginner habits that I see a lot of people making. So the first thing I see a lot of new players do is they use their heat smash too early. Whenever they have heat, they use their heat smash immediately. So I think you should maximize your heat bar before you use your heat smash, because whether you use your heat smash at the full bar or at the almost empty bar, it's going to be the same damage, same frame advantage if blocked. For example, with Steve in heat, I could do these throws, right? You can see I still have some heat left. The point is, your character unlocks certain moves, or some of their moves are made better when you are in heat. So you can start to use some of them, then at the end of your bar when it's almost empty, then you can still use your heat burst. So let's say I want to close in the distance, right? And then I can do this. So use the tools that are given to you in heat before you spend it all. There's also an innate advantage of being in heat, even if you're not using any moves. Just the fact that you're in heat and that meter is happening, the opponent will hesitate because they are scared of your heat smash, especially if you're a character who has a really good heat smash with an insane damage like King or Jack with a 10 frame heat smash. Oh, and one last thing is you also get chip damage, so you can start to pressure your opponent before you use your heat smash, so get some chip damage in. So yes, just generally don't use heat smash immediately unless you really got a good read or you just want to end the round, you just need one last mix up. Other than that, try to use the tools that the game gives you, experiment with your character, what advantages your heat gives you, and maximize it. Mistake number 2 is very common for people who are new to fighting games or Tekken itself, and that is you're not punishing. So in a game like Tekken, when you do a move, you are locked into an animation, and when you're in this animation, you will not be able to block. So if, for example, I do an unsafe launcher like this one, the opponent has a guaranteed attack that will hit me. Something fast like a jab string will definitely hit most launchers in the game. So here I've set Reina to punish, and there I'm holding back, but I can't block it. There's nothing I can do. I'm holding back, but that hit is guaranteed. So make sure you learn your basic, at the very least, the basic jab string punish of your character. So whenever you see somebody do a launcher, you have to have that basic jab string punish locked in. If you're not doing this, you're basically saying, I don't want to win. It's free damage that you're not taking. So at the very least, learn your 10 frame punish. For Steve, it's 1-1-2. And once you got that locked down, then you start to go study frame specific punishes. Usually at 15 frames, you'll be able to launch enemies, so you want to find your 15 frame launcher. But there's a lot of different situations in the game. It'll just take time and it'll take a lot of practice to get all of the perfect punishes down. Mistake number 3 is not changing your timing. So Tekken, it's all about mix-ups, right? You want to mix up between a mid or a low in order to open up your opponent. But once you start getting into intermediate ranks, people are going to start blocking those lows. So to make your mix-up even more effective, you can change your timing. Let's say with Steve, I can do Sonic Fang, right? And then on Wake Up, I can mix up between a mid or a low. They can't do anything about that. They have to guess. Right? Could be a low. Could be a mid. Yeah, it could be a mid. But let's say I really want to do the low because it gives my character some sort of advantage. What I can do is not do it immediately and change my timing. Like so. So as you can see there, I did a little bit of a sidestep, or you could also hold back, or whatever you want to do. Add a little bit of delay before you do the low, and it throws off the opponent. They will duck, and then they will stand back up because they see you didn't do the low, and then they will actually get hit by that low. So there are so many situations you can do this, and you can force these situations depending on your character, and you can condition your enemy to guess immediately in the first couple of rounds, and then in the later rounds, you then change up your timing, and it will throw them off. And in the same topic of timing, when you're trying to approach an enemy, usually you just run up, right? So for example, we are this far and we want to approach the enemy, we just run up and do our attack, right? We run up and do our low. So you can also change up your timing by using what is called a dash guard or a dash block, which is done by dashing and then holding back immediately. Yeah, you can do that. So, right? This does a couple of things. Number 1 is it changes up your timing. The opponent can't easily predict when you're gonna throw out your attack, especially if you want to do a running move like this. I love doing that with Steve, but that's easily sidesteppable or jab interrupted, and then I'll get floated for a juggle. The second thing that does is it also allows you to approach much safer. So if you're dash in and blocking and they're trying to do an attack to keep you out, you'll be able to block that attack and maybe even punish it if it's unsafe. Another thing that does is it allows you to be ready for a whiff punish. If they throw out a keep out attack or they do a random attack because they feel like you're dashing in, but you actually end up in a distance that's not as near as they hope, then you can see that and register that they whiff and then go for a punish. The next mistake is when under pressure, new players tend to just freeze up and hold back. I understand Tekken is a hard game. There's a lot of strings that you have to learn to deal with, and defense is the hardest part of Tekken. But there is a little bit of a shortcut where you can deal with a lot of the pressure that is in the game, especially at a lower level, and that is when you're under pressure, don't just hold back. When you get the chance, try to backdash. So I'll give you a very basic example with Steve. I've set Reina to backdash after blocking. So as you see there, I whiffed. So if you were the Reina, you should definitely do a basic jab string punish on me after that. So that's a very basic situation, but when you're under pressure, try to backdash when you can and recognize that they are gonna whiff at some point. Maybe they throw out a punch or a kick that's not gonna reach you, and you can interrupt with a jab string, or if you're feeling confident, you can even launch them. So start with that and don't worry about the higher level where there's strings that you can duck and sidestep. Those take a really long time to master, but just backdashing is generally a safe option because you're still able to block, and it beats out many strings that have false pressure if you just backdash. Another common example with Steve is his running 2 into his stomp. So as you can see, his stomp doesn't actually hit. Of course, as a Steve, I can change my timing like we talked about earlier and dash in and then do my down back 3-2. So, you know, there's another level of mind game at once you get higher and higher level Tekken, there's more and more layers to these mind games. But back to the topic, that is a very common thing you will see online, is that enemies will do their running move because it puts them at an advantage, and then they will do some low or mid. Oh, and one more tip about dealing with pressure is you can use your heat burst. Is very effective at getting out of that pressure and setting everything back to neutral. Another beginner mistake is not moving away from the wall when you get the chance. So new players understandably will focus on their character or the opponent's character and may not recognize the walls around them that is already closing in. So let's say you're Steve, you're in this position with your back against the wall, and Reina is maybe looking to wall splat you and deal huge damage. But at this distance, she can't really do anything to you. So in that small window, you should recognize that you can get out of the wall. You are free to get out of there because she can't attack you from that range. So now that you're here, you're free to move again and maybe even put her back against the wall. I don't know. But basically, if you get the chance, get out of the wall. Now here's a mistake that I know a lot of people will be able to relate to. I myself did this mistake a lot many years back when I started playing Tekken, and it's that you are focusing too much on the combo. Now don't get me wrong, it is important to learn combos and optimize them because that is free damage that you're not taking if you're not optimizing combos. So definitely take the time to practice and learn your combos with your character. But the problem with combos is everything you do, all of this wall carry, all of this wall damage, it all hinges on that one thing, which is the launcher. If you cannot hit the launcher, you will not be able to do all of that combo that you have spent hours practicing on. And against a better player, if you're just spamming launchers, you will never hit a combo because they will recognize that you're just spamming launchers and they will just block and they will just keep punishing you. So it is important to recognize when you can do a launcher so you can actually hit that 80 plus 90 plus damage that you practiced. And one of the easiest ways you can do that is to just backdash and wait. Backdash and wait, see what the opponent does. They're probably going to do a launcher because they want to do their combo that they practiced hours and hours on. So I backdash, I see the launcher, and then I launch them in turn. So make sure you know how to place your launcher in order to actually make use of those combos. Now let's talk about something that's a little bit controversial, and I know some people will not agree, but I do wholeheartedly believe that you should not learn frames immediately when you're learning Tekken, when you're starting out. Now I know there are people who live for those details, who live to squeeze out every advantage in a game that they play. But for most of the people playing Tekken, the thing that will get you through the hard times is if you're having fun. And learning frames is not going to be fun. That's one thing. And here's the second thing that is most important that not a lot of people think about, and it is cognitive load. when you are new to Tekken, you are still learning two things. Number one is you're still learning how to play Tekken, right? You're learning the game's mechanics, the mids, the lows, the power crushes, the rage art, the heat smash, and you're learning spacing, right? You're learning poke game. So you're learning Tekken. The second thing you're learning is your character. Does your character come naturally to you? Do you know the moves that you want to do anytime you want to do them and you're not thinking about it? Is it already muscle memory? It's probably not yet when you're new. So you're learning Tekken, you're learning your character. You cannot add on top of that the frame date. That's just too much cognitive load. So I've seen this time and time again from people I'm trying to teach Tekken, and it's that once they discover the magic of frames, they start to obsess with that and try to get the perfect frame punish every time. And what ends up happening in a real match is that they just freeze up because they still have to process in their brain, oh, which is my perfect frame punish for this, and then they don't get the punish because it's too late. So with this one, Steve should be able to do this, but what ends up happening, I'm thinking about it, and you don't get the punish. So my recommendation at first when you're new is just get that habit of punishing with that jab string. Just make sure you get that free damage in no matter what the opponent throws out. Once you start being consistent with being able to punish with your jab string, then you can start to add your 15 frame punish when you can and when you have more matchup knowledge. Because it doesn't really matter if you have perfect frame punishes if you don't even know your matchups. You don't know what's minus 15, what's launchable, what's not. So it's gonna take a really long time before you really get those perfect frame punishes in. And you already get so much value out of just being able to punish with a jab string every time. It will shut down so many opponents at a lower rank because they have no idea how to deal with your defense and the way you're just punishing them and they can't block your punish. And the final mistake is not using every game mechanic. When new players find a specific playstyle that they enjoy, specific moves that they like to spam, they tend to forget that there are other things in their arsenal, and it's sort of a waste because you could use those in order to open up your opponent. So have a checklist in your mind. Of course, the main thing is you have to have strong mids that you're mixing up with strong lows, because your strong mids will not hit your opponents if you're not forcing them to duck with your strong lows. Of course, at lower levels, everything just tends to hit because people don't know how to block. But when you start getting higher, people know how to block. You have to threaten them with strong lows so that your strong mids can hit. That's number one on the checklist. Second thing is throws. Make sure you know your command throws, not just normal throws, because this will win you games. If you're playing some random online and you find out that they can't break throws, you better abuse it. Power crush. Make sure you use your power crush when you feel like opponent's going to attack and you will get the advantage. It is incredibly powerful, and some characters have insane power crushes where it's a homing, it's a mid, it's safe, it's a heat engager. So make sure you utilize power crush when you can. Next thing on the checklist is the heat smash. Of course, you can use that to get out of pressure. Very effective to get out of pressure. And then study the heat moves on your character. Use them to your advantage. So make sure you take time to have all of that in the checklist tick. And especially when you lose a game or lose a round, you have that time in between those rounds or games. You got to think about what else am I not using that could open this opponent up? You're probably not throwing. Maybe your mids are not hitting. It's because you're not doing big lows. So if you're new to the game, I know this could be a bit of an information overload. So take the time to digest this video, come back to it, maybe practice each tip one by one and get good slowly. And yeah, I hope this has been really helpful. And if you're a veteran, I would appreciate it if you could share the video to some newbie friends. It might help them out. It might save you some time from explaining things. Lastly, I would like to invite you to our Discord. We still have a really small Tekken community that I'm trying to build up so we can get good together, play some games together. So the link to the Discord is in the description, and I'll see you there.